Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Wright, and I've had a lot of clients and a lot of customers come in and call us and talk about the ERTC and some of the challenges they're having. So, as an entrepreneur, I want you to understand you don't know what you don't know, and that's really important. And unfortunately, what you don't know could cost you a lot of money. So, this video is not to bash CPAs or other companies out there or competitors. I'm just going to give you the facts. The facts are there's a lot of companies popping up that do these ERTC, employee retention tax credits, or employee retention credits, same thing, that are processing your ERTC credits. Well, first of all, let me back up and say it's your money. Get your money. It's the ERTC, Employee Retention Tax Credit, is designed to give businesses money that kept their employees through COVID that was affected by COVID. That's really what it's about. And right now, every business in America needs it because the COVID hit it, our country hard. So a lot of these companies aren't telling you four things. And these are 4 or 5 things that you really need to be aware of and know so you know what questions to ask. One is who's processing your amended 941 tax forms. Your amended 941s, if you file for the ERTC, you are going to have to amend your 941 tax forms, which is basically your quarterly payroll report. So you need to ask them who it is. A lot of the people that are coming into our office and some of our competitors, they are payroll specialists or payroll companies, which is fine from their perspective. However, what they're not telling you or what you're not asking is, how does this affect my taxes? So your 941s are part of your taxes. You're going to have to amend your taxes at some point. Whether if you're 2020 or 2021, you're going to have to amend your taxes. Now, this is where it kind of plays in, is that what you're not asking them or what they're not telling you is yeah, you're gonna have to amend your 941 taxes. The problem is that your CPA they're gonna give you the forms, you're gonna give your CPA the forms, your tax CPA the forms, and he's gonna incorporate them into your taxes and he's gonna file your taxes. Well, if there's a problem with those 941s, it's your CPA that's going to be responsible for handling that, for answering questions, or if it triggers an audit. And a lot of these companies out there that are processing employee retention credits tell you, number 2, IRS doesn't audit payroll taxes. Well, it's true, sort of, but they do audit amended tax forms or tax forms. So the fact they're going to give you the forms to give to your CPA, and your CPA is going to take responsibility for them. A lot of CPAs that I know and a lot of CPAs that we deal with don't want to be responsible for other people's work. So that's challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 is that they're not telling you you're going to amend your tax forms. Number 3, a lot of these competitors out there and a lot of people out there, companies are having payroll companies or payroll specialists process these claims. Number 3, they don't have E&O. Most of them don't, that we ran into. 4 is that there's no audit protection because, going back to number 1, they say, hey, the IRS doesn't audit payroll taxes, which is true, but they do audit amended returns. Well, the other thing they're not telling you is that if you file for any of the other 700 plus federal tax incentives available to businesses, it is going to could potentially have a huge impact on your recovery. So these companies are processing your ERCs for 2020, you get back $50,000, say. What they're not saying is that if it's not processed correctly, they're literally taking all of the employee expenses out of the research and development. For example, the research and development tax incentive that you could apply for, that you do qualify for, 19 out of 20 businesses qualify for the next 3, 4, 5 years, depending on which state you live in. So even though you might get 50,000 in ERC credits, you're going to be giving up potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in other credits that you could apply for, but because it wasn't processed correctly or they didn't take out the correct employee wages, then it's going to basically take that money out of your future credits. Last thing is, or one of the last things is that you have a whole lot of hands in the cookie jar. And what I mean by that is that, I have a client that we processed some of their R&D tax incentives and some WOTC and some cost segs and some other incentives for him and got back a big chunk of change. And then in 2020, he hasn't filed his taxes yet. He was recommended to another company that does ERC. He was unaware, and it's my fault that he was not aware that we did ERC credits or ERTC credits. Well, he hired this other company and they didn't collect all the required documents. They didn't process the numbers correctly. They didn't tell him his CPA was going to have to amend the tax forms for his 2020 taxes. They didn't have E&O, and they didn't have audit guarantee insurance, audit protection insurance. Well, our CPAs, when we get that information, when we go to process his future tax credits, for example, we're working on 2020 right now, all of a sudden our CPAs look at it and they're like, wait a minute, we amended his his CPA filed his tax forms. We have another payroll specialist that's given us the amended 941s. We don't know if it was processed correctly. They're starting to do the calculations and they realize it wasn't processed correctly. And then there's money on the table. They didn't collect all of the required information. And this isn't just one customer. This is several customers of ours. So a lot to know. Again, you don't know what you don't know, but the questions to ask is a CPA doing the work? Let me rephrase that. Is a tax incentive CPA doing the work? The reason why that's so important is because, like I said, it could mess up or could have a negative effect on your future credits going forward. So most CPAs don't do tax incentives, they do taxes. So we'll get back to that in another video. But number one, is the CPA doing the work? Number two, if not, who's doing the work? And do they have E&O and audit protection? Number three is that, is there any, like I said, audit protection, but are they going to amend your tax forms? So number four is what happens, is this going to affect your other tax credits? What I want to impress upon you the most is ask the questions, because what you'll find is that a lot of these companies out there, they're just cranking numbers out and they're really not paying attention how it affects you, the business owner, over the course of several years. So log on to www.recoveryouroverpaidtaxes.com or recovermyoverpaidtaxes.com and feel free to give us a call at 866-668-2974. When you log on to our website, there's a little form on the right-hand side. You can actually fill out and we'll contact you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Hopefully this is a really good education for you. Again, show up, get your money. It's there.